Hi. A few friends of mine have asked me how I make my pizza. It's not my pizza, it's actually a combination of a Cuisinart recipe on their website for making the dough and a Chef John recipe for the sauce. He's a very popular chef from the All Recipes website, and the pizza, the sauce is delicious and the dough comes out perfect. So I thought I'd show you, so in case you wanted to replicate it, because it's really a delicious pizza. So I'm going to try doing that for you. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to weigh the flour on the scale. I'm going to tare it so that it's just weighing the flour, not the bowl. I use grams when I weigh the flour because a cup of flour is 120 grams. So 360 is what I'm looking for here. It's a nice easy number, I never forget it. If I were doing ounces, it's 4 1/4 ounces. I mean, not that hard, but I find it a lot easier to use grams when I weigh the flour. And I'm going for 361. I usually add a little one in there, just for the flour that sticks to the bowl. And it's so important to be accurate. When I first did this, sometimes I got wet flour, sometimes I got dry flour. But when you weigh it, it doesn't matter how compacted the flour is. Right there, that's my flour. You're getting what you need. So I've got the 361 grams, and now I'm going to add rapid rise yeast. I like rapid rise. I used to use the regular one, but this you can just add it right to the flour. With the regular one, you got to soak it in hot water and let it add sugar so it activates the yeast, and then the yeast starts to foam up so you know it's alive, and then you add it with the water. This, I just add the rapid rise yeast right in here, along with a teaspoon and a half of salt. So I have a half a teaspoon, 3 times. And now with the rapid rise, you don't need to use sugar anymore, but I still do. I add it just because I think maybe it adds a little sweetness to the dough. I'm not sure, maybe it doesn't, but I'm gonna do the same. I have been doing it, but with the rapid rise, you don't need to. So I've got that there. And now I have to, what I have to do now is do the water. And the water, when you use normal yeast, has to be heated up to between 105 to 115 degrees. With the rapid rise yeast, it has to be hotter. It has to be between 120 and 130. So I'm gonna get that ready. Now with the water, I know you may think this is anal, but it turns out that the water is 227 grams. So I don't use grams, I use ounces, because I'm looking for a cup, 8 ounces. So I've got 8 ounces of water, 360 grams of flour, and that's how I remember. I'm looking for 8. I don't mind if it goes a little bit over, because once I heat it up in the microwave, it'll lose a little bit. I'll get that. Okay, we're at 120. So I'm going to add the flour to the food processor. And I'm going to add a tablespoon of olive oil. To it. And put this on. Spinning that around. And now I'm going to add slowly hot water. too long. And it'll clean the sides. I'll sometimes add a little bit more olive oil just to help it. See how it's a little bit faster there? Take a look at it. Looks good. Okay, so now I'm going to put it back in the bowl with a little coating of oil and let it rise. That's the next step. So I'm going to do that right now. Spray in the bowl. That's avocado oil, but it could be anything. And I'm going to take this out. Pretty cool. Clean it out. Yeah, that's a bite of pizza. Give it a little bit of a work out. And then I'll put it right around like that. And that baby's gonna cover it. Keep it in a warm place. I put it in the oven. So I don't remind me. Now I'm just gonna wait for that to rise. And this is how much it's risen after an hour and a half. So if I poke it, you can see how it collapses a little bit. And it'll rise some more. Now I'm gonna put it in the fridge and let it sit there and rise some more for overnight or maybe even 2 days. And it actually helps with the flavor of the crust when you do that. And this gives you some chunks of tomato. So we got that pretty much the way I like it. And we've got some fresh oregano from the garden and a few cloves of garlic. And I love this invention because you can get nicely minced garlic out of there. And just keep piling it in, and it keeps coming out. Okay. Okay, so now I've got a saute pan, and I'm going to heat up some olive oil, medium to medium-low heat, because we're going to be sauteing garlic, and we don't want it to burn. And we're going to do that with the fresh oregano that I just chopped up. And we'll see how that goes. Now when this is all, turning brown, the garlic's turning a little brown, and the oregano's shriveled up nicely, we're going to add the sauce to the pan with a half a tablespoon of crushed red pepper, half a tablespoon of dried oregano, and some salt and pepper. Chef John notes that most people like to do, fresh tomatoes, Roma tomatoes. They don't normally cook to make their sauce, but he does. And I used to do it that way, but boy, his sauce to me is so terrific. It's worth the extra effort to do this. Okay, now it's getting almost ready to put the sauce in, so I'm going to do that now. to bring this up to a simmer and let it simmer for about 45 minutes. A lot of the liquid, the water, will vaporize, and we'll have a nice thick sauce with pizza. Looks good already. This will kick it up. And some dried oregano. So John makes the point that combining the dried oregano and the fresh oregano really gives you a nice spread of flavors. Mix that in. A little salt. Black pepper. And I'll have to stir this every so often, just as it's simmering. You'll be able to see it thicken as it reduces. Looking good. Now let it simmer uncovered so that we can let the vapor escape and let it thicken. I usually get about 20 ounces of sauce once it reduces. Let's see what we've got here. Don't want to waste any of this. Get every little bit. Okay, so 22, so it's probably a little wetter than normal. But that'll be fine because once it cools, it'll gel a little bit. So I know that I get about 11 ounces of sauce per pizza. That's the whole point. Okay, so my dough spent 2 nights in the fridge, and there it is. I got some flour on there, so I can do another little kneading here. And now, since I'm making 2 pizzas, I'm going to try to cut that in half. Eyeballing this thing. Doesn't take much. That's pretty good shot, actually. Okay, this. Close enough. So I'm going to let these rest. They're cold, and I'm going to let them warm up, and they'll rise a little bit more before I start rolling them out. So right now I'm just going to cover them. Yeah, just like that, and I'll let it sit for a while. Nice fresh basil from the garden, washed, and just letting it dry a little bit before I snip the leaves off. And the basil. And I do like to just trim it a little bit so it's not gigantic on the top of the pizza. That's all, just like that. It'll shrivel up pretty well. Now when it comes to cheese, I guess any cheese, any shredded mozzarella would still taste pretty good on pizza, especially with this sauce. But I prefer, and I find that it really does taste better, is fresh mozzarella. And I love these pearls because they're like little individual balls, and they're so easy to spread around the pizza without having to rip it or cut it. So I choose this most of the time. And fresh mozzarella is pretty wet. So before I put it on the pizza, I do like to lay it out on a paper towel and try to absorb some of that liquid from the cheese before I put it on the pizza. Actually, I'm going to put a little weight on there to help absorb. Let that help. And I'm preheating this cast iron, large cast iron pizza stone pan. I don't know if you call it a stone, it's cast iron, but in any event, it's preheating for about an hour, and I'm doing it at 475. So everything I need for a Margherita pizza is right in front of me. There's my sauce, there's my mozzarella, my basil, my dough's rolled out and still rising. I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil around the edges before I spread the sauce so that the edges will brown and get crispy. And then finish it off with some Parmesan sprinkled on the top when it's done. Now the little ones don't do basil, so half of one of these pizzas is going to be cheese. But for me, a Margherita pizza is really what pizza is all about. Just love the simplicity of the basil and the cheese and the tomatoes. Okay, we got that done. And now I'm going to spread this out very and that'll be the first one because they'll want to eat the minute this comes out. I get extra here. And there it goes. First one in. And this is what we got. Look at this. Look at this Margherita pizza. Oh. Now put some Parmesan on there. Tell me that this isn't spectacular. And I take very little credit. The only credit I take is that I'm able to follow directions. Because this is tremendous. And the first pizza went out, and they're eating it right now. The little kids are eating it. The adults are eating it. Look at that. And we'll slice it up. Sound, listen to the sound of it. Huh? Come on. Oh, I didn't really hit the sound too well, but I've had 2 glasses of wine too. Look at this. Okay. Thank you, Chef John. Thank you, Cuisinart. Oh, love it. I hope you enjoy. I'll post the recipe at the end of this video.